Endings are the final impressions that a novel leaves on a reader. A powerful ending can elevate a book from good to great, leaving readers thinking about it long after they've turned the last page. Whether it's a twist, a resolution, or an emotional farewell, the best endings stay with us. Here in this video we have top 10 novels that are celebrated for their unforgettable endings, with insights from critics and references to the books themselves. George Orwell's dystopian classic ends on a deeply unsettling note. Winston Smith, the protagonist who once rebelled against the oppressive regime of Big Brother, is ultimately broken down by torture and psychological manipulation. The haunting final sentence, "He loved Big Brother," captures the terrifying success of totalitarian control. This conclusion leaves readers grappling with the idea of psychological surrender and the loss of individual thought in the face of oppressive power. Critic Lionel Trilling once said, "1984 is a profound, terrifying, and wholly fascinating book. It is a fantasy of the political future, and like any such fantasy, serves its author as a magnifying device for an examination of the present." Trilling, The Moral Obligation to be Intelligent, 1948. The ending of Life of Pi presents readers with a choice between two stories, one magical, one tragic, and challenges them to decide which they believe. Pi recounts a fantastical tale of surviving 227 days at sea with a Bengal tiger, Richard Parker. Later, he offers a more brutal version, stripped of wonder. The reader is left to ponder the meaning of truth and belief, a masterstroke in storytelling that mirrors religious faith and the human desire for meaning. As the New York Times reviewer Gary Christ noted, Martell has created a tale that's both fantastical and grounded in the harsh realities of life and survival. The ending forces the reader to confront the nature of truth and storytelling. Christ, NYT Book Review, 2002. In this post-apocalyptic novel, the ending is both heart-wrenching and hopeful. The story follows a father and son struggling to survive in a bleak, ash-covered world. As the father succumbs to illness, the boy is taken in by another family, hinting at the possibility of kindness and continuity in a broken world. McCarthy's minimalist prose amplifies the emotional weight of this finale, making the small act of survival seem monumental. The Road is a relentlessly bleak vision of a future gone wrong, yet McCarthy's spare prose and quiet emotion make the final moments resonate deeply, wrote critic James Wood in The New Yorker. Wood, The New Yorker, 2006. The ending of The Great Gatsby is both poetic and tragic. Jay Gatsby's dream of rekindling his past love with Daisy Buchanan ends in death and disillusionment. Nick Carraway, the narrator, reflects on the decay of the American dream and the false promise of success. The final lines, "So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past," capture the sense of striving for an unattainable ideal. Harold Bloom called it one of the greatest closing passages in American literature, as it sums up the doomed grandeur of the American dream. Bloom, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, 2010. Flynn's psychological thriller ends with a disturbing twist. The toxic couple at the center of the story remains together, bound by lies and manipulation. Amy's calculated deceit and Nick's reluctant compliance create a chilling portrait of a marriage rooted in control. Instead of resolution, the novel ends with tension, leaving readers uneasy about the choices the characters make. Gone Girl is a dark, twisted novel, and its ending is its crowning glory. Flynn refuses to offer a neat resolution, leaving readers both shocked and fascinated, noted Sarah Weinman in The Guardian. Weinman, The Guardian, 2012. In Atonement, the ending redefines the entire story. Bryony Tallis, the novel's narrator, reveals that the happy ending she wrote for the lovers Robbie and Cecilia was a fabrication. In truth, they died tragically during the war. Bryony's act of writing is her attempt to make amends for a childhood lie that ruined lives. The novel ends on a metafictional note, raising profound questions about guilt, memory, and the redemptive or deceptive power of fiction. McEwan pulls the rug out from under the reader with a twist that makes us question the nature of truth and fiction, wrote critic Michiko Kakutani in the New York Times. Kakutani, NYT, 2002. Narrated by Death, The Book Thief ends with the poignant realization that even in times of horror, human beings are capable of both great cruelty and great kindness. Liesel's story, filled with loss and resilience, ends as she survives the bombing that kills her loved ones. The final words, "I am haunted by humans," reflect death's awe and sorrow over humanity's complexities. Zusak's ending is a poetic meditation on mortality and humanity, observed critic John Green. It stays with you because it's not just sad, it's beautiful. Green, NPR interview, 2005. The novella's ending is both devastating and merciful. George makes the difficult decision to kill his friend Lenny, who has accidentally killed a woman and faces certain lynching. In doing so, George spares Lenny from a more brutal fate. Their final moment together, where George tells Lenny about their dream one last time, is heartrending and speaks to the themes of hope, loneliness, and sacrifice. Steinbeck's final scene is one of the most moving in American literature, wrote Susan Shillinglaw in her analysis. It speaks volumes about human dignity and despair. Shillinglaw, On Reading of Mice and Men, 1994. Holden Caulfield's story doesn't end with a dramatic event, but with a quiet reflection on his time in a mental institution. He talks about missing people and reveals that he's not planning to share more about his future. This open-ended and introspective conclusion leaves readers wondering about Holden's fate and mental state. It's an ending that perfectly aligns with the novel's themes of adolescence, alienation, and the struggle to find identity. Salinger's ending is subtle, but it captures the uncertainty of growing up, said critic Louis Menand. It's not a conclusion, it's a pause, perfectly in tune with Holden's voice. Menand, The New Yorker, 2001. The final pages of Rebecca reveal the destruction of Manderley, the grand estate that symbolized power, memory, and secrets. The fire that consumes Manderley symbolizes the end of an oppressive chapter in the narrator's life and a release from the haunting legacy of Rebecca. The open-ended yet emotionally charged finale reflects themes of identity, jealousy, and liberation. The ending of Rebecca is both cathartic and tragic, wrote Margaret Forster. It burns away illusions, leaving only the raw truth. Forster, Daphne du Maurier, The Secret Life of the Renowned Storyteller, 1993. Each of these novels offers an ending that resonates, shocks, or enlightens. They leave readers with lingering questions, deep emotions, or new perspectives. As readers, we return to these endings not just for closure, but for the rich complexity they offer, reminding us that how a story ends can be just as important as how it begins. Whether it's Orwell's bleakness, Martel's ambiguity, or McEwan's twist, these unforgettable conclusions prove that the end of a book can be its most powerful part. These stories highlight the importance of narrative closure, emotional payoff, and thematic resolution, showing that the final words often carry the greatest weight.